Okay. Have a quick breeze through this. So J2 is the intelligence staff. You know, the impression I just get from this is, once again, like how behemoth the military structure of the United States is.
Good point. Yeah.
It is literally behemoth. Like, we talk about like 15,000 people at NSA or whatever. But when you include DoD, Pentagon, and all the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and excuse me, my voice is drying out again. And all of the different armed services and their staffs, and all the different contractors and their staffs. I mean, someone said on Twitter over the last week, they're like, you realize up to 30% of the entire United States workforce is employed in some capacity serving the war machine. And I thought to myself, like, wow, I was like, that seems like an inordinately high number, right? For like 30% of the entire population to be. But then when you think about the defense contractors, the manufacturers and the distributors and the like all of the different things, the fusion centers and all the related law enforcement agencies and everything else, and the diplomatic side, the diplomatic corps, and all of these things, all these like satellite groups and operations, like it probably literally is 30% of the entire US workforce. Sadly, they were saying that in the context of trying to justify why it needed to continue. Exactly. As if people couldn't be re-employed or repurposed into other things. I mean, if the United States decided to take their $1 trillion a year or whatever it is that they spend and turn it into domestic infrastructure projects and whatever else, then I'm sure they would have no problem re-employing those people into something other than raping the planet and murdering millions of people. But there's this real attitude from within the US military that to scale down or to repurpose the military would like result in some kind of economic collapse. And I just don't believe actually that military death, war, and destruction leads to a strong economy. I don't think it has led to a strong economy at all. I think the evidence of that is all around us. Like we had the 2008 economic crash, after 7 years of war and raping and pillaging the planet. So, I mean, not to mention the effects of it. Like David Swanson, the famous anti-war activist, talks about like the massive implications for pollution and climate change from the war machine, and how the Pentagon is a huge polluter. It's responsible for, a massive percentage of US emissions and whatnot. Like war literally kills the planet. It doesn't just kill people, it kills the planet. And what is the economic cost of killing the planet? Like, how do you calculate that? But it seems that part of the internal propaganda, the propagandizing of those who work for the military, is this false idea that it's economically beneficial to continue destroying countries.
Yeah, I've summed that up in an article just on the issue of Yemen. I just referred to it as the economy of death.
Yes.
That is bipartisan. It's, you have Obama enacting the same policies that Trump is now continuing at the moment, and that that we're all worsened the situation that Bush gave us. So yeah, I think that whether you're propagandizing it or whether you're against it, we're all seeing the same issue. Like, nobody's pretending that doesn't exist, which I guess is kind of appalling in and of itself. Like, it's so huge they can't even pretend that that's not the case, so they just make it into a good thing.
Okay, we'll keep moving. I totally agree with you, and I think economy of death is a brilliant way to describe it, but I think that it's a self-defeating economy. It's a
Yeah.
false economy. Because I mean, they're going to run out of places. Like, there's only half a dozen countries, in the world left that they haven't completely destroyed and, appropriated all resources from. What happens once there's nowhere left?
Well, this is, I
What
think,
happens? No
similar.
one answers this question. What happens once the US has consumed every country on
Well,
the
see, this
planet?
is where I think it's really similar to the oil companies. What happens when all the oil is gone? And the oil companies are trying to keep us on that energy source as long as possible. They're going to, rip up sands and, do whatever they have to do to keep us there. But I'm just saying I think it's a similar limited outlook. And it's because it's because you have interests in the arms industries and in the oil industries, in that kind of comparative analogy, in both of them don't want that system to end. So because of their self-interest, they're going to try and continue that paradigm as long as possible. And I think the only way to address it is to try and replace it. But that's my opinion. So